Welcome to this week's video lesson. In this week, we cover operators, expressions, and aggregations. And I'm going to focus on the aggregations part of that. I think operators and expressions are fairly self-explanatory, especially if you've had programming classes in the past. So today we're going to focus on the aggregation expressions. And I'm in the DVD rental database, and I'm looking at the tables. And I'm going to focus on a couple tables today: the customer table and the payment table. So I have some queries here I want to go over with you. So the first one is, how do we actually do aggregated data, so summarized data, using functions like count and sum and minimum and maximum? So let's look at that now. The first query here is going to look at the customer table and tell me how many active customers we have. So the command is going to be select using the column active. Active within the customer table is a flag, which is a 0 or a 1, meaning 1 is active and 2 is not active. Okay. And then we're going to actually count the number of the ones and count the number of zeros to see how many we have active versus inactive. So let's run this. And you'll see that we have 15 with a flag, active flag of 0 means they're inactive, and 584 that has an active flag of 1, meaning they're active. We're using the count star, and we're also using a new term called group by. So group by says wherever you have your aggregating function, we're going to group by the column or columns that appear before that. So if in this case we have one column that appears before the aggregation function, so we're going to group by that column. This command will not work by itself without the group by. I'm going to try that here. I'm going to highlight just the select part without the group by and show you that it's saying down here must appear in a group by clause. Okay, the column customer.active. So we must have this group by here in order for it to work. So let's take it a step further and look at this in terms of not only grouping, but also ordering the results. So let's now switch to the payment table. I'll open that up here. The payment table has columns that have amount of payment. So I want to look at by customer how much they've spent from the payment table. So I'm going to use the function sum to add up the payments made by a particular customer ID. And I want to order those sums from highest to lowest. I want to see my most highest using customers or paying customers first. So let's run this command. And you'll see here that my highest paying customer is customer number 148, $211.55. And it goes down from there. And that's a function of having the order by with a descending clause here. Ordering by the sum amount, descending. Okay. One step further is the having clause. So I'm going to next here introduce you the having clause. The having clause is a way to filter out a summarized result in the query. So notice that here is returning all of the dollar values from highest to lowest. What if I want to only see those customers that had spent $160 or more? So look at this query here. The first 11 should show up, right? Everybody below 160 should not show up. That's what the having clause will do. So we'll still select customer ID and the sum of the amount, group by the customer ID, but we'll add a having clause, having a sum amount greater than or equal to 160. That gets applied after the data is summarized. So it's post-summarization, and that filters and applied. So think of it like a where clause for an aggregated operation only. Okay, where some amount greater than 160 is not going to be the same as the having clause. A where clause here would apply the greater than 160 pre-summary. So we'll look at individual payments, and anything less than 160 it's going to filter out, which is probably all of the transactions, right? You would think that most rentals are going to be under $160. So this is saying by using the having clause, wait until you filter the data until after we sum those up by customer. And then when you have the aggregated amount by customer, then filter it out. So if we do this now, we should only see the top 11 customers come over here, because the number 11 has $161 and the one after that has 158. And lo and behold, the top 11 come up and nothing that is less than 160 shows up. We can also do this for other aggregated functions like count. So here I'm going back to the customer table to show you that, okay, how would we count the number of customers by store? So I am going to select, I'm going to highlight the first part of this and say select store ID and the count and group by store ID. So here are all the stores count by customer. We only have 2 stores, unfortunately. So one store is 326, one is 273. If I add in a having clause here, having count of the customer ID greater than 300, you would expect that only one row would come back, and this one, only the top one. And sure enough, that's what happens. So aggregation and having clauses are very powerful, very common. You'll use them a lot in reporting, and allows you to build aggregated reports with filtering on them and produce compelling results for your business partners. So I hope you found this video useful, and we'll continue on the discussion as we continue through the class. Cheers.